Welcome back to another enlightening episode of the Phoenix Paradigm Studio. I'm your host, Chili Charlie, and today we're going to dive deep into a episode that focuses on finding your rhythm in life and self-improvement through the martial arts. Now, I'm thrilled to introduce our host, Rasta Dontae. He's a man of many hats, a teacher, fitness coach, martial artist, scholar, and a musician whose life journey has taken him from the professional scene of playing trumpet with such notable legends like Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder to the enlightening paths of Capoeira in the heart of Haiti. Rasta Dontae faced a career-altering decision in the tranquil Meridian Hill Park whether to continue his musical career path or step into the world of martial arts fully. And it was there that he chose to elevate his capoeira practice, a Afro-Brazilian art form which encompasses fighting, music, dance, and cultural ritual. He took his talents to train in Haiti and combined fitness and martial arts to develop what he calls the Rasta Method. So in this episode titled The Beat of Resilience, Rasta Dontae will share his transformative life story that led him to leave behind high, well-paying jobs and focus his full attention on unveiling the potential of martial arts in our community. Despite adversities, including a childhood condition that threatened his mobility, his unstoppable character and spirit has developed a practice of wellness, inclusivity, and joy of movement through music. So prepare to be inspired by the story and insights of a man who sees martial arts as a tool for communal growth, health as the highest cultivation of the mind and the body, and life as a perpetual rhythm that we all must learn to dance to. Before we start, make sure you like, share this video with someone who could potentially benefit from hearing from this, who may find this information interesting, and comment below hashtag flow is freedom. And stay tuned for this invigorating conversation, this inspirational conversation, the beat of resilience that just may inspire you to change the way that you and rethink the way that you move throughout your own work. Enjoy. All right, everybody, glad to have you back here in the Phoenix Paradigm Studio. Got a great guest today. I'm glad to have him on board. Been working on this for a long time coming, and finally got him on board. Great man, you know what I mean? A teacher, a prolific fitness coach, and a martial artist. And not to mention a wonderful scholar, because you know we got to bring that knowledge to you. So I'm proud to present to you Rasta Dontae.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, big brother. I'm excited. I'm excited. Yeah.
Glad to have you here. Great to have you here. I know because you got such a busy schedule, you know, sometimes it's hard to fit you in, but you know, got you squeezed in, right?
This is the life we prayed for.
Amen.
That busy life. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So, we got you on here at the Phoenix Paradigm. Wanted to, bring the message, teach people what you got going on in the community. So, let's dive straight into it.
All
Can you
right.
let us know what the Rasta method is?
Oh, the Rasta Method. The Rasta Method. Here we go. Some prototype merch here. Um, so the Rasta Method, that is the name of my company, the Rasta Method, and the Evolution of Movement. So that's like the brother company, right? Um, so the Rasta Method, Rasta is my martial art nickname. So in Capoeira, which we're going to talk about, my primary martial art in Capoeira, um, traditionally when you join Capoeira, it's like joining a game. So when you join Capoeira, it's traditional for everyone to get a nickname. You can get that nickname your first day of class. You can get the nickname when you get your first belt. You can get the nickname by a visiting master or instructor. You can even sometimes come up with your own nickname, depending on how formal your school is. So my first day ever of taking a formal capoeira class, I walked in. I had saw this thing online. This actually. So I had a jazz gig that I was about to perform. I used to be a professional trumpet player, and person gave me the details for the performance. I looked up the venue, and when I went on the website to get the address, I saw that they had offered capoeira. So I said, "Oh, I'm definitely going to check this class out." So when I walked in, I had on a Rastafarian cap with the brim and my locks in it. This was almost 15 years ago or so. And the instructor at the time was soon to be he wasn't a master, but he was pretty much a master. I walked in, Brazilian man, black guy, Brazil. He says, Hasta Benaki, Hasta Benaki. So I'm standing at the door. I just walked in talking to Hasta Benaki. So yeah, so that was my nickname. So in Capoeira, that's called an apelido. Apelido means your nickname. And that became day one, I became Hasta. So for those who don't speak Brazilian Portuguese, the R makes most of the time makes an H out H sound, especially when it's at the front of a word, especially. So Rasta is pronounced either Hasta or Hasta, depending on what region of Brazil you're from. So from my first day of that class, I became Hasta or Hasta because I had locks.
Okay.
And that was it. So if anybody who's ever traveled in like South America, I've had locks for most of my life. I've cut them, and this like the second go around. But I've traveled like Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Mexico. When you have locks, they just call you Rasta man. They go Rasta man, and they sell you ganja. They want to sell you weed because you have locks. They just assume. So I was Rasta when I walked through the door, and I've been Rasta ever since. And now the Rasta method, the method is a baby of my life experiences as, like you say, an educator, then going into the fitness industry and really being born with a handicap. We can talk about that later, but being born physically impaired and then going through martial arts fitness and being a school teacher. So all of this journey became like a method that I used on myself first to get me athletically, physically proficient. And I took this philosophy and this framework and adapted it to any client, any person that stands in front of me. And that's the Rasta method. So that's the foundation. It has origins in Capoeira because my name is from the Capoeira tradition. My main physical practice is from Capoeira. And if you've ever taken Capoeira, you know that keeps you busy, keeps you working out a lot. But really, a lot of it is the pedagogy training that I have as an educator. So I've been a school teacher for over 20 years. I've taught from preschool 3-year-olds all the way into master's programs. I've taught abroad. I've taught mainly in my hometown. And I do pride myself as being an educator. That's just what I do naturally. So when you mix all this up, that's where you get the Rasta Method, this curriculum and this philosophy of health and wellness and movement. So yeah, that's what it is. And this is one of my little logos here. You see, I got the comedic symbols on there on purpose.
Hey,
But yeah. So that's the Rasta Method.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
There's a lot in that introduction. I
Yeah.
just learned something. Well, not that I didn't know that. I kind of, it slipped my mind that you said that you were a musician as well. So, educator, martial artist,
Yeah.
uh, fitness trainer, scholar,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
musician.
So
Okay.
I had two lives. Yeah. So from third grade until 30, I lived music. So I started music in elementary. I joined the band in like sixth grade. Mo Better Blues came out, and my aunt took me and my cousin to go see Mo Better Blues at the theater. And just maybe a month or so later, beginning of the school year, the band teacher from my school, the big school, came around. Had I not seen that movie, I probably wouldn't have joined the band. I don't know. But the lead character in the movie played trumpet. So when the band teacher came around and said, hey, mark off the instrument you want to play, I saw the movie. So I said trumpet. And I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts for trumpet. So I was in a jazz band and in the concert band, and went into New York and actually got my bachelor's of fine arts in jazz at a school called the New School University. So I was like playing with, like, if people know Robert Glasper, he's a famous producer and musician now. Bilal the singer, Roy Hargrove the trumpet. Like, these were names that I went to school with them, or they graduated from that school, and we were kind of in this network of like young Black musicians, that neo soul jazz era. So I came out of that lane, and I graduated as a musician, and then became a music producer and a musician. So at 30, there was kind of like a hard reset. We could talk about that, but where it was kind of like I had to choose. I was at a crossroads. I had started taking capoeira. I loved capoeira, but I was not getting good at capoeira. As you know, like, everybody knows Eddie Gordo. Everybody wants to move like Eddie Gordo, but with 24 hours in a day, being an adult with priorities and obligations, I remember training capoeira at the park until sun went down. Like, I was in this park trying to feel confident in my movement, trying to get these moves to come out. And it was like, no matter how hard I did it, I just didn't feel like it was a part of me, like it just wasn't coming out. And I was sitting at Meridian Hill Park until the sun went down. I was like the only one left in the park. I sat in the bench, defeated.
Oh no.
And I had a loud, audible voice like, what do you want to do? And I gave myself an ultimatum. God, whatever, I yourself was like, listen, there's 24 hours in a day. You got 12 months in a year. You are this now. You're a professional musician. My nights belong to music. My days belong to music. I was a music teacher by day, musician by night. And I was doing capoeira like once or twice a week,
Right.
And it was just like, what are you going to do? Are you going to you need to either stop and just focus on your music and just live vicariously through movies, television, media, video games, capoeira, like look at it, appreciate it, or you need to allot the time and effort it takes to master or to be proficient at this, because you did this in your music life. You need to allot that amount of time, because doing once or twice a week, you're not going to move in the ways you see yourself in your imagination move. And I sat there on the bench, and it was like, don't get off this bench until you decide what you're going to do. And when you decide, just that's it. And I decided then on that bench, I think I was 30 years old. I'm going to become a capoeirista. I'm going to become a martial artist, like for real, for real. So I was like, okay, call my homeboys up. Hey, don't call me for the gig. Don't call me for the gig. I'm quitting professional music. Do not call me for the rehearsal. And they laughed, of course. Ha 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 ha. I hear you. But I quit. I quit. And I literally started a second wave of my life where I walked away from almost everything that was normal to me to pursue capoeira, which led me to the fitness industry because you have to be really fit to do capoeira, even like in the ways you see the masters move. And I needed to understand the body because unfortunately, the school I was at the time didn't, I feel, fortify me with the knowledge I needed to understand really how to condition. I didn't even know these words at the time. I had taken martial arts as a kid here and there, but I didn't understand any condition, know any of that stuff. So I literally man, I literally left the country to Haiti. I moved to Haiti and became a teacher there at a university where I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody there. And I basically reset my life in Haiti. So I was still teaching English. I taught English there at the university, but I was still training capoeira there. And there was a capoeira group there that was being led by some Brazilian masters at a cultural center there in Haiti. So I had my capoeira there. It was just me by myself. I had friends I made there, but no one knew me as musician Dontae. That was, no one knew me as music teacher Dontae, music producer. They started to know me there because I had Haitian friends who were musicians and singers and rappers, and they started to see I knew about the software and how to mix and how to. They're like, "Oh my God, you do!" But I was studying the body, I was studying anatomy, I was studying how to get your personal training certificate, all that, certification. And when I came back to the US, the same school that I used to teach at called me back under different principal and say, "Hey, are you Mr. Hamlet? All the students, all they do is talk about you. You had a band program in the drum line. They really want you back." And with a heavy heart, I had to decline it. And I started working at a gym where my job was to greet people at the desk, take applications, get people to sign up, and fold towels and put away dirty towels.
Wow.
So I had come from making almost six figures at that time for DC public schools, going to Haiti where I had a pretty good job and I had a family business. I was making pretty good money. And I just kind of let all that go. And I was working two shifts at two different gyms, just being the front desk person, literally washing towels, drying towels, folding towels, greeting people. And see, in my musician life, I had played with Stevie Wonder, Ray. I started with Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder because those are the names people know. But when it comes to jazz, I had shared the stage and had played with some A-list musicians, hip hop artists, and things like that, gospel artists. I had done all of that stuff. But I was like, none of that matters. I want this life. So I started from the ground zero. And what happened, I had world-class trainers in the gyms that I worked at. They were nice. They knew everything. The manager. So I was surrounding myself with the world that I was trying to be a part of. And I just started low. And the rest is history. And I went through the industry. I got my first break. One of the instructors called out sick. They needed somebody to cover a fitness class. And my manager called me "Hey, don't you do that martial art capoeira?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Don't you mix it with fitness?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." I was building this thing that's become the Rasta Method. He's like, "Well, can you do it at such and such time?" And I was start sweating. I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I can do it." That was years ago, but that was and then I got my certification and I just stayed in that industry. And now I've left the industry mostly. I still work at one gym as a kind of a favor because they look out for me. So I look out for them when I can. But I'm really full. So I've left the classroom completely. I've left all my 9 to 5s for the most part. And I'm focusing on the Rasta Method full time now. So that was the whole kind of story from More Better Blues to the Rasta Method, which is how we met. and how we got here today. So
Yeah,
that's how.
absolutely. It was great me. I had no idea that was that's very profound to know that you work with names like Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, and
Yeah,
other A-list celebrities and
yeah.
musicians and things like that. Man, you're a godsend. And the thing is that, working with you and learning from you
Mm,
through capoeira is
mm,
music is a very big part of that too.
yep.
So, um, also, I was at one point I was dealing with a lot of sciatic pain, and
Mm,
you actually gave me a lot of stretches and things
mm,
to help me go through that. So, kind of wanted to segue into that
mhm,
because when you were telling me about how to do the stretches and things, you kind of mentioned in passing that you had, a handicap that you dealt with and everything,
mm.
and that kind of ties into your story a little bit. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So, um, yeah. First of all, I'm just honored to work with you. Like we're here on your platform, and I'm honored to be here. But also, I'm always honored to be in front of another human being to try to act in the way of service, like sciatic pain. Man, I was a musician, as you see, for most of my life, half my life. And when I can help somebody like with the physical pain, oh man, touches my heart. When I can help someone like do something, and we're gonna talk about this is why I like this is why I like officially left music. There's nothing wrong with like being. I'm still a musician at heart. I can still play, but I get like my soul gets touched to have the honor to stand in front of a group of kids, a group of teenagers, a group of adults, one person, two people, and like see a smile come on their face when they do something they never did before, or like when they say, "Man, my knees used to hurt," or "I had whatever the case is." So yes, so I'm glad we've gotten to share that space together and work in that way. But yeah, so I was born with a clubbed foot. So for those of you who maybe have never heard of that, a clubbed limb is typically when one of your limbs is deformed and it's turned inward or doesn't, it's not shaped or formed or have the mobility as it should. There's like more severe cases. There's milder cases. Mine was at the point that when I was born, the doctors didn't catch it, and they took me home. My father noticed that he just felt like one of my feet wasn't it didn't look right. And when you're a baby, you're gooey and mushy and no one knows. So they didn't really believe my father. They thought he was kind of tripping a little bit. He was like, he had to like convince my mother, like, no, take him to the hospital. So they took me back to the hospital and x-rayed me. Sure enough, the bone was just completely deformed in my foot and ankle. So a club limb, if you have a club hand, for example, you'll see kind of people like this, or it won't quite move. So I had a kind of a normal type foot, and the other foot was kind of like so something like this. So the first year of my life, I had multiple corrective surgeries, screws and pins and nails, whatever I said nails, and hammers, fake parts, to at least shape the foot in the right, way. So with that said, now what that meant for all of my life, I learned how to crawl with a cast on my leg. I learned how to walk with a cast on my leg. I had to wear like the special little hospital shoes, which were kind of fly. Like if they come back in style, they were hard bottoms, the hard bottom Forrest Gumps. You can make them work today.
Made it work,
Uh,
huh?
you can make them work with some good, pea coat,
Mm. He said with a pea coat on.
pea
Okay.
coat on, But what that means for me is that I have my left leg is about an inch or more shorter, about an inch shorter, which means my hips are naturally lopsided. It also means my foot is a whole shoe size smaller. And it also means that from my ankle up to the calf, it's hardly any muscle tissue. It's like a little bit of muscle. I have a little bit of calf. So I have a normal calf and a little calf. And what that means as far as movement is that the left ankle it can never get past a certain range of motion where I can never fully bend. Now, and what that means is it can't take a lot of impact. So if I overextend that ankle, it'll just fracture. It's like there's no give. It's just bone, basically. So that said, I am not supposed to be able to do the physical things that I can do according to my doctor. My doctors literally told me when I was an adult, saying, "Yeah, I'm interested in going, taking like adult tumbling or gymnastics, martial arts." I'll never forget the doctor. I was sitting in his office. I was in my late 20s now, like 28, something like that. He's writing down stuff, and I'm saying, "Yeah, I think I'm going to take." He kind of slams the pen down on the pad, looks up to me like he heard me say the dumbest thing he's ever heard, shook his head and said, he said, "Dontae, you've lost. He said you're too old for that, and you can't do that. You should never do that. That's too dangerous for you, for your condition, and you're too old. I have you lost your mind." And I was in my late 20s. So that is a part of the Rasta method. That story, because that is the narrative that the Rasta method is going to change and expel from the culture. Because the culture is, because I'm 42, I'll be 43 in May. So I'm 42 and a half-ish. And when people hear my age, when they see, because I didn't grow up with the physical background. I didn't grow up doing gymnastics. I didn't grow up doing like extensive martial arts or football, basketball. I was a band geek. I was a band kid. The things that I've been able to train myself to do with using the old noggin and being humble and just taking my time, I'm getting younger physically, literally. Like I couldn't touch my toes without bending my knees when I started capoeira in my late 20s. I was severely out of shape. I was strong, like I can lift weights, I can do chin-ups, but my body, the things that I can do mobility wise now really is from a narrative to say that you can do it. Most people think you have to be born like this. So that's what I'm trying to dispel from the Western consciousness. Like you don't have to be born like that. Because I definitely was not born like that. Like, I'm if you look at me, you'll say, okay, he might be in shape. He looks like he works out a little bit. People don't know that like it used to be painful for me to walk for most of my life. Just to walk. I couldn't run. I couldn't jump rope. Uh, and I conditioned my body using my teacher brain, right, and using the knowledge that I've done, and yeah, just calming the ego down. And see, being a master of music, if you will, when you master one thing, you learn how to apply that to other things. So because I knew how to sit down with my trumpet and work on the scale for hours. And if I mess up, I didn't get mad. I just went the next day and I got a little better. And if I messed up, my trumpet teacher had to teach me, don't get mad when you crack a note on the trumpet. Because every time you roll your eyes or suck your teeth or curse or every time you put an emotional connection to a mistake, you're creating a pattern to always make the same mistake. So you have to be almost like a computer in that sense where you have to let go. And that has actually changed my life about everything. Like my community work, I had to let go of my community in a sense in order to be more productive for the community. I used to be so, these my people, these my kids on the street, which they are. But I would be so like, oh, in my like late 20s, early 30s, like, it's do or die, it's do or die. And I would be stressing and sweating and so much at stake, which it is. But be with my smile now, right? I used to be real like, man, who you crazy? Who you talking? Dr. Uma. I was like, oh.
Yeah, for the cause all the way down.
Man. But my trumpet teachers told me growing up, you cannot put an emotional attachment to the flaws. You just got to keep showing up with a smile on you. Like if the more pleasant you are when you show up, my trumpet teachers made me read Zen books and Buddhism books, Zen and the Art of Archery in high school to learn how the archers would hit the bullseye by just being in the moment and not trying to do it, but do it, like that Zen. So I carry that with me as well. But and this is what I impart to all my adult clients. I'm like, don't get frustrated because you didn't get it today. I'll see you at the next session. Just keep showing up. It gets better. Smile, which is connected to capoeira because capoeira is based in play. So I'm writing a book. I've been writing this book for too long, but it's about the art of play and how capoeira is such a mystical art because there's no other fighting style that calls their fighting play. In capoeira, when we don't say fight, we don't say spar. They say jogo, jogando, meaning to play the game. And that's really what life is like. Whew, we can talk about that, but yeah, so that's kind of like how born with the physical disability. I was pretty fit, and then this is in the book. Last story on that. I went skiing in college trying to impress this girl I was dating. She wanted to go skiing. Yeah, let's go skiing. I'm from Southeast DC, never been skiing. We go skiing in the Poconos. We get up to the top of the mountain. I look down, say, I'm not going down there. Me and this guy from New York, he was a Puerto Rican guy from New York. He was with his girl, I was with my girl. We didn't know each other. We literally stayed at the top of that hill and bonded, just talking, because we were too afraid to go down the hill. We never did a bunny hill. So we were like, there's no way we're going to go down here. So we just going to stay up here and talk. So we talking, and then eventually he accidentally went down. He slid. So I was like, oh. I was like, whoo. So I accidentally went down eventually. Really? Got too close to the edge. And if I don't know who can ski, right? People can ski. You ski with your hips. You go like this. I went down and I just went boom. Like went 2 feet. And every time I tried to get back up and get on my skis and get down, I'd start going here and I go boom. Every time I get a boom, boom. And I couldn't realize why I can't go straight or I can't stay in the middle. I just kept. And then it dawned on me that night, I am not activating my left leg. I have no neurological, I don't have enough neurological connectivity to my left leg and my foot and my ankle to control it, to put weight in both legs to do like this. All I can do, no matter how hard I try, was just boom. I could not steer on both sides of my body. And that is what put the light bulb on. I was in college. I was like 2021. That's what put the light bulb that I had been going through my whole life and was a fit guy, I thought. But I was like, I'm not stepping with my left leg. Like I'm walking, but there's something missing where I can't feel. There's something not there that I can feel on my other side. And I didn't know the body worked that way. So that was the moment where I realized I'm not as in shape as I thought I was in a sense. Like I had muscle, had 6-pack, but something wasn't making the connection. And that's normally where people lose it. They think you got to have a 6-pack and be ripped to have big muscles and lift heavy to do stuff. But it's really just making neurological connections and alignment. And that's what I focus on. I teach them. Yeah.
We're gonna try to incorporate some clips of you in this interview for the viewers and everything. Because when I tell you, when Rasta get down, what he just told you would have never again, a lot of this I'm just getting privy to myself. So you would have never guessed the way that this man be moving, flipping, somersaulting, getting he
appreciate it.
So
I let it go. Like I said, I released the overbearing desire to be perfect, to do it, and I just respected the process and let go of, it's got to be right, it's got to be perfect, I got to have it today. That's what most adults struggle with,
Yep.
But yeah, once I let go, now I play. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And that was actually kind of segues into a question I was going to ask a little later down the line.
Okay.
As far as if people needed any, background in, movement or anything like that in order to get started with capoeira. And I mean, I'll let you say it again just in case somebody missed the message.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's a good question. Some of us, many people will see capoeira or have seen capoeira. There's different types of capoeira. Number one, like you may see one style and think that that's capoeira. You may see a whole completely different style and think that that's capoeira, and not know that there's like kind of like at least two or three different styles that go by a certain name, right? So there's like Angola, and we can talk about this later. Then there's like Haitian now. Those are basically it. But then some people kind of merge as times like evolve, and there's something called contemporary or contemporaneo, which is contemporary, which is like a mix between the two schools, kind of. But it's really like two schools. But to answer the question, of course not. You don't have to be fit. If you're, first of all, what the word fit means or in shape, that's a whole nother thing because that's a big topic that I like to talk about, like what it means to be fit. Fit means that you're capable of completing said task. So, for example, a 16-wheeler truck is fit to haul tons of goods from LA to Chicago because that's what it's built to do. A Lamborghini is not fit to do that. A Lamborghini may be fit to race in a certain type of racing scenario. A 16-wheeler not fit to race on that type of terrain on the racetrack. They're built different. They have different tires, different type of engine, different structure and frame. So a football player is fit maybe to play football. Maybe won't be fit to do capoeira, or maybe won't be fit to do basketball. So fitness is like, okay, so what I say is don't worry about it because you're fit to do what you do. If you've never done capoeira, just accept and understand the fact that you're not capoeira fit yet. Anybody can be fit for anything if they join that school of training, right? I may be a great tennis player, but I still got to take the basketball summer camp and the basketball fall camp and the basketball spring camp to be good at basketball. Now I may have some tools from my tennis background that may lend itself, but just because I could be a first place tennis player doesn't mean I'm going to be great at basketball. I still have to go through all the motions. So if I take my ego from my championship in tennis and think that's going to put me right at the championship of basketball, I'm going to quit basketball because that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I am capoeira fit, and I train a lot of people in different athletic backgrounds. Just because I'm capoeira fit and I might be training a yogi, don't mean I can move like you, yogi. There's a lot of overlap, but just because I'm capo fit, that's the name of my fitness program, Capo Fit. Doesn't mean I can't lift as heavy as you can, weight guy. Like I teach people who are weight trainers. So just because I can flip and kick and spin this way doesn't mean when I go into your domain, I'm going to be proficient like you're proficient. So I tell people and I respect that. That's the thing. So that's called cross training. Understand cross training. You can have no athletic background, come into capoeira. Be with a teacher that's going to respect the levels. Because there's good teachers in this. I can't vouch for all the teachers. I think teaching is an art in itself, which is what I really try to perfect. Because I try to bring a good level of instruction and care and intentionality to my program. Unfortunately, there aren't a whole lot of capoeira schools in the world as much as other martial arts, right? You can go find taekwondo, karate real easy. In our area, that's probably no more than 6. I would say no more than 6 capoeira schools in the whole, from Baltimore to Fairfax, Virginia. It's probably 6 or 7 tops. That's crazy. How many taekwondo schools from Baltimore to Fairfax, Virginia would you think? How many pins would pop up on Google, right? So I would say if you join any physical activity, just leave the ego. Nothing wrong with the ego. You need your ego. Put that on when you go to work, and that helps you complete the task. But when you're entering into a new field, respect the process. Like I started when I switched from being a musician and did all this stuff. I didn't. I came in at the bottom floor, and I was good with that. I wanted the bottom floor because that's what level I was on. If you jump, that's when you hurt yourself.
Right.
So come into a capoeira program, and it's wellness. You got to be flexible in capoeira. You have to be physically agile and strong in capoeira. Um, your balance, right? So these are the things that you're going to address. You don't need to come in like this, but you're going to leave like that. Hopefully, if you stick with a good program, you will increase your flexibility, your total body awareness, your total body strength, your balance, your body awareness, your spatial awareness. You will move with ease. The purpose of capoeira is, we say, play. You're supposed to do everything with a smile. A gymnast can do a backflip. We have to do a backflip with a smile. A yogi can do a handstand. We have to do a handstand with a smile. A karate person can kick you in your head, knock you out. We have to kick you in your head, knock you out with a smile. We have to make everything look super easy, like we woke up like that. Now, is that always true? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, depending on how much you're conditioning. But that's not where none of us started. I couldn't touch my toes when I started capoeira. I was tight as a board. I recommend everybody come on to capoeira. It's a beautiful art. Like I just said, like you mentioned, it has music in it. It has the cultural arts. It has a beautiful history. It's one of the arts that's preserved, that's still around, that we can trace and say it was created by dark indigenous people.
Mm.
Okay, there are a lot of things in history that were created by dark indigenous people that, because we lost the chapters in history where we can't prove necessarily, then it's like we can't point to where we can claim it. Well, capoeira, we got a clear track to it. It's one of the few that we can still look at the history books and say, no, 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 here we go, here it is.
In that vein, can we get into a little history? Can you give us a history, maybe briefly or expound on it, just where capoeira came from?
Sure, for sure, for sure. So, like I just said, so capoeira is an Afro indigenous American art. So, what this means is, it's much like jazz, and this is why, again, it's just, it works for me as a jazz musician. Just as jazz is a combination of all of these cultures and mixtures that came from the New Orleans era, the port of which all these ideas started to blend. So you have African. Now, when I say African, I mean African, because some people will try to point to one particular country, but we know, like the diaspora, well, you had, you had Muslim, Christian, and Jewish Africans up in the Mediterranean, North African, Northeast, or Eastern, Ethiopian, all of that whole horn of Africa. You had West Africa, and you had Southwest Africa, and you had peoples either being captured as prisoners and brought into specific holding regions, which, when we talk about Brazil and Capoeira, we're talking about the Angola corridor. So it wasn't like, oh, Angolans came across. You had everybody. So you will see in capoeira music, old capoeira banners, capoeira studios, you're gonna see the quote unquote Star of David. You're going to have songs that are going to reference Allah. I mean, so when I say African, I mean the continent. I don't just mean Angola. Some people will point to Angola, which is, I mean, a lot of Angolans that have gone over to the Americas and back and forth, right? So, but then you had the indigenous peoples that were there. So the word capoeira means something. The word capoeira is not an African word, it's not a Portuguese word, Portuguese being the European language of Brazil. It's a Native American indigenous word. Capoeira means It means like patch of dead grass. That's the best way to put it. Patch of dead grass. And what that means is this is where the warriors train their martial art. When you are outside, if you come into an opening, into a field, and you see a patch of dead grass surrounded by live grass, that means warriors have been here training and they've killed all the grass. So like dirt or dead grass where you see that's what capoeira means. So when you train, it means training outdoors. But that's an indigenous American word. So you have these origins, that have crystallized into what we have as modern day capoeira. But at the same time, it is, from my study, I'm a historian. I love it. It's my favorite thing. Culture, history, work, language, etymologies, my symbolism. That's all my favorite. Hence all the symbols here. In the Caribbean, West Indies, and Haiti, and Jamaica, and Cuba, these are some countries that are known. They had their own types of martial art. In Haiti, they had a boxing style. That was their style that helped liberate them from slavery. In Brazil, you have capoeira, but you had sailors, merchants that will go pick up a skill, drop off a skill. Guys on a ship fighting to pass the time, teaching each other, man, throw your elbow like this. I'm pragmatic. This is how, things aren't so crystallized, but in our modern time, we put a border and we say this is the name of it. Before television and the printing press and all that, it was word of mouth. It was experiencing. It was organic. It flowed. But so yeah, the Caribbean, southern parts of the U.S., they all kind of had this kind of like playful type fighting style, where you didn't stand there with your guards like this. You were loose and you played and you rolled, right? So if you see really good boxing, you're seeing good capoeira. When you see really good boxing, when they're using their whole body and it almost looks like they're dancing, Mike Tyson, his footwork, very, very close to like what real capoeira should look like on the street. It's the footwork and the hip movement. So this is a part of the way the way we can move to music, right? And our hips and shoulders start to sway. So in capoeira, when you see Eddie Gordo doing the side to side, that's called ginga.
Right.
And ginga means to sway side to side. Now, sway is what we do today. We call it swag.
Absolutely.
We call it pimping. So even what do we call an old school like pimp type dude? We call him a player. We use the word player. So we see these words even in our Black culture in the U.S. that they still use in capoeira. So the thing about the Brazilian culture, they were able to preserve it a lot more. And our culture, a lot of our culture we didn't necessarily emancipate ourselves with the music and the martial art. Brazil, capoeira, what we consider capoeira today, that was the martial art that actually allowed the slave to escape, so much so that they abolished slavery. So capoeira, big part of the freedom and abolishment of slavery in Brazil, which led to other revolts that were happening. But the thing about it, remember I said you have to let go in order to get that desired thing. The mentality of capoeira is play. So you had to pretend that you were all about that slave life by day. Master, yes, sir, master, smiling, shucking jive. And when the nightfall came, you prayed to your ancestors, you summoned your God or your ancestors, whoever you believed in, and blood, sweat, and tears, you were training martial arts. You were training ways to send messages covertly. You were looking at the stars for signs and routes and routes, and you were training your martial art. You were conditioning your body. You had to do splits. You had to be flexible.
Mm.
You had to be able to maneuver so fast and so bendy that you can get under or jump over something that was crazy. You had to be superhuman. Have you seen Capoeira masters? Are they not superhuman?
Yo, what? Time to
They
step
are
together.
superhuman. And they smiling and can kick so fast you won't see their foot.
Mm.
So it's like at that time there's no excuse. You're fighting for your life and your freedom, and you're fighting for the freedom of your people, and you're fighting for the abolishment of a whole system that was global. And yeah, Capoeira was a huge hand in the freedom and liberation of not just Brazilians but worldwide, because there were so many other revolts that were happening, the Haitian revolt, all these other revolts that were happening. But that, Capoeira was a big part of that, and so much so that even after slavery was legally abolished, even though we know the conditions still lingered, it was illegal to practice capoeira in Brazil. So you weren't even allowed to be seen training anyone or practicing capoeira yourself. You go to jail. That's how powerful. And again, it wasn't just the movements. I really need us to understand. It was the program. It was how you look at life. That's why you get a nickname. You get a play name. Everything's play. Smoke and mirrors. What's real? What's not real? Where am I kicking you at? Am I moving here but my foot's here? See, it's not head on. We gotta fight. If they would have fought head on, they would have got squashed every time. So everything is magic. Everything is magic in capoeira. It's sleight of hand. So when we train fight, people still today say, "Oh man, that capoeira is a dance, man. That's break dance, man. That's not no real fight." Good. Don't think it.
That's perfect.
Please underestimate me. That's already I'm winning. Already I'm 30% winning now. You've helped me because you think I don't know how to fight. Cool.
They've been done studies and it shows that capoeira kicks are like the most powerful kicks out of the martial arts. You know what I mean? Like,
And look, that is only with today technology are we able now to prove that the secrets are coming out. And that's a big topic in Brazil. Because now we have capoeiristas, people who train capoeiristas who are now professional MMA fighters in the UFC, other leagues around the world. We have guys just knocking people out with pure capoeira technique. Now, let me be clear: capoeira bar has always had hands. What we see on YouTube, that's the show. What freed the slaves was more realistic. Eye gouges, right? Telephone ear claps, elbows, throat chops. It's all self-defense. Everything's fair in the self-defense. And in capoeira, you will learn this if you get yourself with a good school and you stick with a good instructor. You can learn self-defense, and you can learn MMA, and you can learn how to be a breakdancer. You can do all that. You can learn how to be a musician. It's a cultural thing in capoeira, but it's never ending. You can go in any of these directions. But now you have some old school mestres in Brazil who really have a problem with capoeira becoming mainstream. It's kind of too late now. It's out there, but and capoeira has grown worldwide. But they're like the traditionalists. That's like, but you're showing them our secrets. Like no other art has what we can do what they do, but they don't do what we do. We train different. We can front kick, snap kick, roundhouse kick, elbow, smack punch. But like you said, that the world's strongest kick or whatever, that comes not to say nobody does it anywhere else in the world, but that's what we train. That's how we train. A lot of capoeira techniques also were designed to actually kill or take down horses. So the police of the time were on horses. The cavalry, a lot of the movements Capoeira uses the ground to plant our hands. So if you notice, we fight with our hands on the ground a lot. That was to solidify you. That was to ground yourself into the ground, kick your leg out, and kick the breastplate of a horse to knock them down or to break their chest plate, their chest bone. So you were like trying to basically stop the cars of the police to knock, or like a lot of the flips that we do, run, flip, back, boom, boom, boom. That was to catapult yourself and knock the police off the horse. So, and these were European, like, Spaniard and Portuguese horses. So that's a little history that maybe some people never heard about, as far as like, that shows like how a lot of our techniques were born and why they looked a little different. But yeah. Capoeira was outlawed, and then so the people who preserved Capoeira, a lot of times it went into the underground like crime scene or mob scene of Brazil. So if you were known to be a fearless capoeirista, and again, capoeiristas are contortionists, but they pretend that they're not. They're very unassuming. You're basically a ninja. You're invisible. You're unassuming. So capoeiristas would be hired as assassins and hitmen to go into a crowded area, take somebody out, and leave while the music is still playing, or while the market is still going and people are exchanging goods. So capoeiristas were known to be like smoke. So there's a lot of folk tales and songs about, famous folkloric capoeiristas who could vanish, turn into insects and fly, would turn into beetles. So the beetle is a kind of like a sacred symbol of capoeira. You have heroes called like besouro. Besouro means beetle, who was known to, like, police would try to shoot him. They think they shoot him dead. He'd be laying on the ground. When they go to get his body, the body's gone. And, people who had like special blessings on them from the Orisha, from the ancestors, or from the priests or priestesses who like could shapeshift or like run up a tree and jump from limb to limb, and very like magical, mystical things. But again, if you see a modern day master, it's kind of like, I can see that. Like, I can kind of see like these guys are doing stuff I've never seen a human do. So think about 100 years ago, where like there was no distraction, there was no television, and you just trained all day. Yeah. Anime.
Right.
Anime level.
Yeah. Golly.
So that's kind of and of course I left out a lot of things. I'll end it with this, because you talk about the history of capoeira, man. We've been here for 100 years, but right now, if you were looking for a capoeira school, you're gonna find two types that they're gonna say. It's either gonna say Angola, like the country Angola, capoeira, or regional, spelled regional. Regional, it's pronounced in Portuguese regional. Regional capoeira and Angola. Those are the two types of schools that kind of split right about the time capoeira became legal again. And one of the main reasons why capoeira became legal again, there was a master named Bimba. There was a capoeira master named Bimba. And Bimba basically was a well-known, amazing fighter, champion of capoeira, like a real fighter. And he had his own style. He started his own style of capoeira. And at that time, capoeira was less formal. You just kind of did it. You did it with your uncle. You did it with the local teacher. There was not like a whole lot of academies, kind of. It's kind of like basketball. I always use capoeira in basketball. So in the US, you can be a street baller and be amazing and have never played for an actual team or never took a class in basketball. But you just grow up watching it. So you grow up dribbling and you grow up and you're great. And you dunk and you boom. That's like capoeira Brazil. You go to Brazil, everybody, you could just be great at capoeira. Be like, man, who's your teacher? But I ain't no teacher. I just do capoeira. Oh, fair enough. So that's how Bimba was, Bimba. And so he did something very controversial, which is something like I'm kind of doing. I'm doing something very controversial. And it's kind of that same line of like Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee did something very controversial with the art. Bimba said, you know what? I don't think I don't think enough people in my community are kind of taking it serious enough in a sense. Like he was trying to elevate the art.
Right.
So what he decided to do, he's like, you know what? I'm going to take it to the bourgeoisie. I'm going to take it into the rich community, which is normally white people, right? At that time, especially. So he took it in. He took capoeira, his style called he created Regional into the universities of Brazil, which it had never, because it was still outlawed. It was still illegal. So because he was trying to take it to the upper echelon of Brazil, that made the people with the money and the influence say, no, I want my child to do this, or I want to do what the black people are doing, that capoeira thing. And there's not to say there weren't black people in the university, but at the time it was predominantly white Brazilians or white people, Caucasian, whatever. And so, whatever, he got it to happen, and capoeira became legal.
You go.
It became legal, and because of Master Bimba, primarily. And so now, to create a hard separation from Bieber, because what happens sometimes, you get haters. Sometimes you move out the hood and you're doing good. Sometimes you get haters. So Bruce Lee had to fight for his life to share kung fu and have his own style of kung fu. Man, they made that man fight almost to the death. So what there was no such thing as capoeira Angola, no such thing as capoeira Haitian. Now, there was just capoeira. You do whatever style you want. So what a lot of the Brazilians started doing was like they decided to name this type of capoeira called Angola to point back to more of his African roots, and they called this very uniform type of capoeira Angola. Now, capoeira Angola, they dress a different way than capoeira Regional. Regional, the main color is white. So if you see someone doing capoeira, they're wearing mostly all white pants especially, a white top with the Brazilian colors, some type of way in there, with the belt, a cord. We call it cord, but with the belt on their waist, hanging to the side. Regional, can't miss them. Angolera, they don't use belts. They don't even use the word master. So but they don't have level. You just come and you get as good as you can get. They would tuck their shirts in and they wear shoes because at that time shoes were a sign of prestige and like education and respect. So a lot of Brazilians were barefoot and they only wore their shoes like the church or the school or something like that. So when you trained Angola, you had to tuck your shirt in to show that you were not an outlaw. In other words, they were trying to remove that gangster mentality that I was talking about earlier from capoeira and say, no, we train about respect. We're about the culture. So you're gonna learn more about the culture a lot of times in Angola. You're gonna have a lot of people that look more like Rastafarians, kind of like they're gonna have locks a lot of time. They're gonna just have a different swag, right? Regional is more fighting. Bimba but Bimba focused on kicking butt. So Bimba really was like, perfect this kick. Bimba said, no, we're going to punch, we're going to chop, we're going to smack, we're going to boom, elbow. And he created a system that was more like martial art. And Bimba didn't use a lot of instruments. Bimba used like one or two instruments. In Angola, you're going to have a long line of instruments, and you're probably going to do 45 minutes of music before you even get to the move. You're going to jam out.
Right.
So Angola, you see it kind of like more so wants to focus a balance of more of the culture and the spirit of like capoeira. And they don't jingle really hard or, Angola can a very dangerous martial art. If you're good at Angola, you can whoop some butt. Let me not be real clear, Angola. But it's a different pacing when they train. Regional is really focused on like, can you kick this kicking pad? Can you do this spin kick? Condition you to jump, to flip. It's more about the power, speed kind of, and the technique. And because of that, Bimba created belts. We call them cordal, meaning rankings. So Bimba was trying to formalize capoeira like Asian martial arts had. White belt, yellow belt, blue belt, black belt, birth degree. So Ben was like, no, we need level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Some people weren't for it. They were like, nah, man, they wanted to keep it organic. Either you good or you not. I don't care what your belt color is. Can you fight me? Can you win? If you win 100 fights, you're a master. I don't want to see your belt color. I don't care what your belt says. So that's what the Angoleros say about. They're like, man, that's not real capoeira. And then Haitian Al said, man, that ain't Angola stuff, man.
You're right.
So there's that little internal Brazilian little tension there, but it's all love. Most capoeiristas honor both. But if a person's listening to this and they do want to check out a capoeira class, please do your research. And I'm going to tell you, Google or YouTube Angola capoeira and separate Regional capoeira spelled regional capoeira. And you're going to see the difference, and then you can decide which one you go. Because somebody might see Regional capoeira sign up for their local Angola class. They're like, this is not what I saw on YouTube. Because it's not. It's not the same. It's not the same. So there's a little history, and there's a little kind of bring it back to the present day context that these two styles, both beautiful arts. I train both. I do Regional. I'm a Regional instructor, practitioner. I've done some Angola, not the same thing. I know. I love both, but I do Regional. That's what I train about.
Okay. That's what was
Yeah.
okay. So in regards to your philosophy and as far as martial arts goes, how can we apply that to our life experiences and as to get it like as a normalized community activity?
Yeah, that's normalizing is what I literally walked away from a career that I love that's like music and even now teaching, because again I stopped teaching this year, like left the classroom full time to pursue spreading not just the word message of capoeira but martial arts in general, because first of all, it's just needed. It's not even an option. And I'm going to tell a story. I love stories because yeah. Martial art is not optional. I don't care if it's boxing, wrestling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu or jiu-jitsu, capoeira, karate, taekwondo. From birth until your last breath, everybody, you don't have to even call yourself a martial artist, but you need to be a martial artist. And I'm going to explain why. Capoeira for me showed me so many deficits that I had that I didn't even know I had. That's what the whole point of a martial art is, to teach you how to be a master of your mind and your body. What is more important than that? Why would I want to be a master of or CEO of a company or make $1 million, $1 trillion, whatever, and I haven't started the work in my own garden? I call the body and the mind like a garden, right? A lot of us are walking around with untilled ground. We're actually in the forest. So like I said, I like history and I like the alchemical sciences and things. So forests or jungle or wilderness in old writings a lot of times was code for the mind or the body. And there is a key difference between wilderness or forest and garden. Gardens don't grow naturally. But humans, to sustain life, we have to garden. So we knew that there was hunters and there was gatherers, and then somewhere down the line we realized if we want to keep eating and sustain our family and like this community, we have to ensure that what we need as nutrition continues to grow on some type of cycle. And there's like, so if you got to tend to the soil, you got to make sure the soil has the minerals, you got to have make sure that it has the right insects and worms in the soil. There's so much science to just gardening. Gardening is just everything, right? So it's the same with our bodies. When we don't have a certain level of communication, real communication with our mind and our bodies, because I believe you're not your mind, and I believe you're not your body. I believe your mind and your body are tools or gifts that you're giving, because you can lose your mind and you can lose your body.
Yep.
So if you can lose something that ain't you, it can be removed from you. And we don't want to lose our minds, right? When we talk about wellness and health, we're talking about just that, like cultivating, as that like another gardening term, cultivation of the mind and of the body, and the unification of the two. So my catchphrase, I have a few that's like hashtag flow is freedom. And that says it all to me. Flow is freedom. Because when something is in alignment, the energy flows through. If I take a garden hose and I wrap it up in a knot, or even if I just bend it, the water may trickle out and drops on the other side, but I have something stopping that flow, that energy.
Right.
But if I align that hose the way it needs to be perfectly, energy goes right through. And if anybody works with technology, same thing with like wires and cables and like how the energy goes through cords and electricity. Our bodies are no different. Our culture is relearning this through the like introduction into yoga. Now, yoga is a known thing. Back in the 90s and 80s, if you did yoga in the 90s, 80s, or 70s, you were called a dirty hippie. Your friends would be like, hey, you're a dirty hippie. Get off the floor. Why are you sitting on the floor? Why are your hands touching the floor? Remember that? Remember? I don't know if you remember that, but like if you sat outside and meditated, man, culture was not feeling that.
Nope.
Now, what do we see now?
See it all over the place.
Yoga mats galore. Yoga mats.
Yep.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry now, right? So my mission is to bring martial arts to the point that where yoga is now. Yoga was something on the fringe, and you might have known someone who kind of talked about it and did it, and they were like crystals. Now everybody wear crystals, everybody. That was like, man, you worship the devil.
Yep.
But there's a science behind jewelry and crystals. There's a science behind yoga. And like modern science is like, can now point the finger at yoga. Like, well, actually, that pose does stop the sciatic pain, right? That pose actually does relieve stress or allows you to breathe better or blah blah. Yeah, well, we know that for thousands of years. Thank you for it. We knew that.
For reiterating that.
So, but martial arts has all of that. And what martial arts does is, I call it anti-narcissism. It's an anti-narcissistic drug. Because I don't like to use that word as like a catchphrase, like, that's a narcissist, that's a narcissist. But like, I have a working definition of like narcissism that I feel like we all have. It's a voice that tells us it don't take all that to achieve said goal. I deserve that now. We all have that. Man, look at that car. Why I ain't got that car? Okay, well, do you work the job that person work? Or I don't have that car, so I'm going to steal it.
Man.
That's narcissism in action. But we all have the thoughts. Man, how they get that? How they get that house? How they do that? Why I don't have it? I deserve. Well, you have elements. You deserve good things. Yes, you're a divine being. But until you put an apple seed in the soil and you are a master gardener, will that apple tree grow? If you don't know how to plant apple seeds and make apple trees, you don't deserve the apple. I can give you one of mine, but I gave you one of mine. These are my apples. I work hard for these apples. Why you got an apple tree? What? I deserve apples, but do you know how to? I can teach you. I can show you. Or you want the apples now? Oh, okay. I see. So you don't want to put the work in. So that's the thing. Martial arts is this thing. You're going to be the fittest. You can see if martial arts is your base, guess what you can do? Everything. That's why I'm trying to make it more of a, you don't have to stop nothing. You don't have to stop your basketball. It's going to help your basketball. It's going to help your yoga. It's going to reinforce your football. Because the thing about a martial artist in ancient times and still in certain parts of the world, a martial artist is the doctor. A martial artist, when you go into a martial arts space, you're supposed to see the anatomy chart. You're supposed to see the nervous system. You're supposed to see the organ. You're supposed to see the meridians. You go into a martial art, they're going to have holistic herbs and da-da-da. You're the doctor. So that's the best. What else did we come with? We came with this body. So my philosophy, my mission is, most of us in the Western world, we don't even know that we're in the wilderness. We haven't even started cultivating a garden, or some of us have like a little garden that you can expand on. You have to till this land and you have to work and grow. But see, the thing is, now that I've grown my own movements in my body and my own philosophy and my own habits, can nobody take it away from me? And I can do things even the doctor said I shouldn't even do, right? But it came through martial arts. So again, it's my mission to spread that message, especially in our community, where as we see a crisis, um, our youth, even our adults, like, for me, it's the narcissistic mind of, if you're coming out of a situation where you don't have a lot of resources, but you're looking at your phone or you're looking at television and you're listening to the rap guys saying, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. Whether they telling the truth or not, it can create something in a person's psyche to say, well, I deserve, why don't I have? Or maybe if I sell this on the corner and get a lot of, quick money, that, because I deserve this and I deserve that. When you go into martial arts, when you have to move your body a certain way, there's no pretending. I can't pay somebody to do a backflip for me. It's either I do it or I don't. Either I can kick my foot that high, I have the flexibility and the strength and the body awareness to do this movement, or I don't. And it's humbling. So you get rid of that I deserve. Because you do deserve, because you're divine. But you yourself today, you have to break it down, because this is the soil that has to be broken down and tilled and planted and watered and checked on and planted and watered some more and checked on. Oh, little buds coming through. Oh my God, I can't wait. It's gonna be, and you gotta keep going, and you gotta. That's called doing the work. And I think if we have it more in a communal space, a martial arts space is communal. You go into the dojo, there are people of all levels. There's children, there's elders, there's people of all levels. So I'm trying to get it to where we're communal again. We come into spaces. Right now, what's the communal space to work out? The gym. Okay, gym's pretty cool. Gym's okay. You can lift some heavy weight. Can you touch the floor without bending your knees, without hurting? If you drop something on the floor, are you gonna break your back trying to pick it up? Because you stiff. Like, martial arts about fluidity, and martial arts goes all the way into your last day. So you are martial artists in your 50s, your 60s, it keeps you elastic, keeps you moving. And that's what it is. Flow is freedom. So if I'm 50, 60, I want to feel free. And martial arts, especially capoeira, but martial arts in general, you want to feel free. You might not have a six-pack when you're 80. You might have big muscles, you might not. But I bet you one thing, you want to be able to get on that floor and get up. If you fall, you don't want nothing to break.
Be able to dust it off and keep
Yeah,
moving.
you want to keep rolling. Look, last smile, like, Lord. And then someone see, like, oh my God, that 90-year-old man just rolled off the floor and just kept walking. People do it in other countries.
That's right. That's right.
People be doing that chin up. 85 years old, shredded. So I'm just trying to lay this foundation of, also, martial arts means I'm standing here and another person standing here. They're going to throw a foot or a hand at me, and I can't run away or cry, or I have to stand in the heat of confrontation and be aware of what's happening, of my emotion, of my body, of my mind, and of this person. right? So there's no faking martial art. That's the thing. And that's why I call it the anti-narcissism, because the narcissist will fake or scheme or manipulate to get something. Martial arts, you cannot fake, you cannot scheme, and you cannot manipulate to get the task. You can't. Because you have to be a yogi, you got to be an athlete, you got to be a fighter, you got to be super intelligent and wise. You need to know about nutrition. It's holistic. So that's the mission. That's my ultimate. That's why I quit my day job, to go into spaces, go into the ears of people, stand in front of people and say, hey, martial arts. Just go. Don't go to be a master. Just go. Just go. Go sweat. Go move your body. Kick your foot up past your hip. Some people can't even lift their leg up without popping it out the joint, or I was like that. That's why I know I was like that. But people thought I was fit because I had a six pack and I had muscles, because I lifted weights and I did chin ups and push ups and thought I was in shape. No, I had an aesthetic. I was not in shape. If you ask me, I was not in shape. I didn't eat well. I didn't drink well, but I looked apart. So we have a form of fitness. And right now, unfortunately, our society equates big muscles with health. And that's just could be further from the truth. Like, you can have big muscles, have bad organs. You can have big muscles and can't touch your back. Can't extend your limbs. Nothing wrong with big muscles, but I'm really trying to focus on the whole pie of wellness, and and I think from the beginning of time, martial arts has always been that thing that encompassed everything. So, yeah.
Yes, sir. Definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So, guess we're running up some time. We've been on here for a bit. So, winding down now, just want to be able to give our viewers a way to reach you. If anybody wants to get involved in capoeira or capo fit, how can our viewers get in contact with you, Rasta?
Solid. So I do have a website. It is the Rasta Method.com, or however you want to say that word, the Rasta Method.com. And then I also have a few Instagram pages. The main one is Instagram at the Rasta Method, TheRastaMethod, the Rasta Method. I am a personal trainer, so I do personal training. I do group training, group fitness, and I teach capoeira around the city. I do demonstrations, I do festivals. I'm always looking to be in even more spaces. Right now, I'm in Virginia, DC, and Maryland. Come find me. Look at the website, and I'll have locations there. You can also go on Instagram, Capoeira DMV. So that's me, Capoeira DMV. And yeah, that's me. What else? There was something else I wanted to say, but yeah, no. Teach capoeira, personal training, group fitness. Come find me. You won't regret it. I'm going to have you moving the way your body deserves. Flow is freedom. So my style is just, I'll have you doing things you didn't think you can do. Your doctor said you wasn't ever going to be nothing, like my doctor said. But I got you. Teaching is my thing. Modifications are big. I always modify to where the person is, and give all clients, even if it's in my capoeira classes or my fitness classes. I do a class called Capo Fit, which is basically like yoga, Pilates, martial art training, like gymnastic style training. I do all of these things. But I always give goals that all clients can reach. So when you leave the class or the session, you feel like you've accomplished things, because you have and you will. And you just keep showing up. Keep showing up. And that's my style. That's my method.
That's right. That's what's up. We Mavericks out here,
Let's go. You gotta see this man move. Don't let him fool you. Don't let this man, he about that life.
I am, but I'm trying to get like you. I got a great teacher, you know what I'm saying? And we definitely out here doing what they say that we can't do. That's what we break the mold at every turn. So,
Yeah.
any last words you want to give to our viewers?
Nah, brother, I just want to thank you for having me on your platform. This is great. I hope you and I have many more sessions as far as just being in the movement spaces and brother to brother training. That we bring more brothers and sisters, youth, elders. Like this is my other hashtag is Capoeira for everyone. So again, some of my students, I have autistic students, I have students on the spectrum, I have students with Down syndrome, I have students who are in their 60s, 70s, 50s. I have clients who were born with physical impairments like myself, different spectrums. Any height, any body type, any size, everybody's welcome. Men, women, boys, girls. It is for everyone. My thing is building community. That's one thing about capoeira that makes it different also from kind of other martial arts. It is centered around the circle. That's why the music is there. We train in a circle. That's called a holder. Holder means wheel or round, and capoeira centers community. So anyone's invited. Hit my website, hit my Instagram, and contact me. Let's go. Let's get moving. Let's get you moving.
Right. And all that contact information will be below in the description box. If you made it this far, might as well like, share, smash that subscribe button, you know what I mean? Show love. As I mentioned, all the info is going to be listed to reach Rasta. So thank you for joining us here at the Phoenix Paradigm Studio. Guest here, Rasta, thank you for coming again. Much appreciated. Much love, and look forward to seeing you again. I'm trying, like I said, I'm trying to get to my
You get there soon.
we gonna get up real quick, okay?
Yeah. Peace, brother.
Peace.